So it begins, another strange excursion through the graveyard of UCS. It's a journey of dark enlightenment that's so bizarre that it could put the Twilight Zone catalog to shame, and it's just my luck to have to make 2 consecutive journeys. Major Eating Crabs thought that I was worried about the problems I would face dealing with my fellow grunts on the night watch. This presumption is a half-truth. Physically, I'm not worried, even though the majority of my fellow night shifters are violent-prone. The Nocturnals adore me for the simple virtue I wish them no ill will. At this moment in time, they're my teachers as well as students, so I treat them as such. My concern is not for the corporal, it's a matter of mind and spirit. Earlier in our introduction, I gave you the definitive perk of UCS. Freedom, the freedom of a conscious mind to naturally think without the hindrance of mentally slaving for others, pure transcendental thinking. But pleasure and pain are twins, as well as sanity and insanity. A free mind can be a hellish nightmare of a burden as well as a dream if the owner is not intellectually sturdy enough to be aware and deal with this fact. This blues song of a statement is the reality that awaits me in the cemetery-haunted consciences that subsist within the turbulent conscience of a migration amid hordes of unindividuals, tested psyches of development, deterioration, sickness, health, righteousness, and evil innocently subsisting in the fated biospheres of their worlds, waiting for a ghastly dance of planets with my self-cultivated world in the forgotten name of freedom. Living minds that have been molded and liberated by the harsh roads that life has sent them staggering down. Coolly, with swarms of vehicles and socialites galvanizing the vicinity into a midnight flower of mysticism, I go. Fuck Superman. The villain in art mode pimp struts out of a rusty one-man parking lot booth, through the lot's scrawny gate, and down a sidewalk, suffering from varicose veins, oversettled bums, ignited addicts, and philosophical drunks, under the prying eyes of the streetlights, towards the habitat of the Nocturnals, with a boombox in my right and Charles Mingus's finest compositions placed methodically in my left. Southpaws are always the best avant-garde warriors, full of anticipation for the consciously unexpected on the graveyard shift. This is an excerpt from the hefty duology, Nah Nigga, I Ain't Doing a Fucking Double, a dark comedy about a poet working the graveyard shift as a security guard in downtown Atlanta. A 2-book series written by the spoken word artist, storyteller, poet, and novelist Dylan Killian, aka the infamous Cola Rum. The book's title comes from a popular saying one would hear when a boss would tell a black American that they would have to stay over and cover for an employee who did not show up for work. Join me, Bibliophile J, as I give a synopsis of the groundbreaking literature from the villainous one himself, the infamous Cola Rum. Origin and gestation. To survive as an artist, Cola Rum needed a job where he did not have to use his mind for another's benefit. He required an occupation where his poetic thoughts could grow freely. He chose unarmed contract security on the night shift in downtown Atlanta. Unarmed contract security at night is not a demanding job. Your only concern is making sure the building doesn't burn down. You have the freedom to honestly socialize for 8 hours a night. Now, the night shift in major cities is an employer's graveyard for all intents and purposes. It's where employers tend to put all the undesirable, the antisocial, the personally awkward, the violent, and the mentally unstable, with the objective that they will fade away. It's the Human Resource Department's occupational toilet for wayward employees. For 8 years, While actively performing his poetry, Kola Rum existed on the night shift of unarmed contract security, interacting with all the strange personalities that the twilight hour of Atlanta had called. Interacting with the night shift crew, he heard inspirational stories, gangster tales of the most vicious kind, family tragedies, and horrors of the darkest type. When he took leave to go out of town and perform, artists and art patrons always inquired about his financial situation, and he always told them that he works in one of the strangest environments a human can experience on the road through life. Being a natural storyteller, he would start telling them about all the colorful cast he works with and their incredible stories. The accounts would always have the listeners glued to his every word, responding to his dark narratives from the urban underbelly with laughter, tears, or complete shock. After 12 years of actively performing, Kola decided to write a novel. He pondered what type of novel to write, thought of the night shift, and realized he already had his genre. The only difficulty was that the genre was a mixed bag, a mishmash of urban fantasy, true crime, horror, tragic comedy, and black history. And Kola, being eclectic-minded, wrote the novel as such. Here's another excerpt from the duology that displays the novel's eclecticism, a snippet from the chapter Ms. Atty. Ms. Atty being an old slang term for Atlanta. New York is an aged and jaded metropolitan, a blue blood wasp of the Episcopalian faith, an old steel-gray battle axe from a bygone era whose sophistication one sees in her classic dress, candid demeanor, and the subtle gleams and glisters that reflect from her ghostly blue eyes. The wrinkles in her appearance, the grooves, cracks, furrows, creases and folds, the desiccated saggy titties and varicose-veined stilts, which were once gorgeous legs, reveal an extended time spent under a vibrant sun, a sojourner in the fiery era of empire. With her, there is no illusion, no semblance. What she looks like is exactly what she is, a fast-moving, burned-out, polished hag who has tried and is willing to apply every trick under the sun. Though her sunlight has fallen into civil twilight, she continues to fight, to grapple for the last vestiges of its love and warmth. Now Los Angeles is a determined middle-ager of the chic set, an 8th-generation Mexicana of the Catholic faith, a seasoned midlifer of the fading American New Wave whose long silk black hair, stylish guise, brash manner, and sparkling brown eyes still dictate the currents of society. Though her dreamy Juno-esque beauty continues to sway, the wear and tear of a fast life under the sun can be seen through the developing flab in her ass and thighs and the crow's feet, darkening ridges and slight bags within her golden autumn countenance. With her, everything's an illusion. Semblances are fully embraced. She's never who she truly is, a swift-operating, desperate cougar whose self-delusions from embracing illusion are beginning to affect her internally. Though declining, it's still her time, her moment to bask in the love and warmth of an afternoon sun. But she is no fool. She knows the reality of dusk approaching. Then there's Atlanta, a 20-something, positive-thinking new graduate of the non-denominational Christian faith, a dreadlocked buppy of the now generation whose eccentric fashion, flighty disposition, and glistening black eyes are the telltale signs of a lady of tomorrow. Her tight, voluptuous body and smooth, cocoa-brown skin are just beginning to feel the loving, warm rays of dawn. In her world, illusions and reality are vague concepts, irrelevant notions, for her mind is preoccupied with discovering who, in fact, she is. An upbeat, strolling romantic who has just begun to pursue her dreams under the rising star of day. an ascending sun coincides with her enthusiasm for the future. But if one looks closer, beyond the beautiful wool, past her southern etiquette, sundress and sandals, one would see the other her, a more authentic her that only an 80 alien would know. Her dreadlocks are deceptive props to woo Afrocentric-minded sheep to sleep for the fleecing of their nappy wool. Her non-denominational Christian faith is cosmetic, a networking business tool of the soulless, money-worshipping mega-church persuasion. Her eccentric fashion and flighty disposition are the byproducts of her overconsumption of black pop culture, a gluttony that has created a burning desire for fame and fast money, inducing her to pimp that tight, voluptuous body and smooth cocoa brown skin in the strip club, prostitution, and porno industries. To cope with the self-pimping, she dulls her thoughts with potent drugs of every kind. Hence the glistening black eyes. She's a two-faced secret lifer, a new age, double-dealing Jekyll and Hyde, a cloak and dagger sociopath hiding behind a good upbringing, devout church-going, and a black Ivy League degree and professional career. This duplicity gradually traumatizes all idealistic transplants who fail to see that this young black southern girl of the red clay forest has a dual facade and persona, a layered self that is not hard to see if one's eyes are open. Style and structure. As previously mentioned, the series is a dark comedy written with the gritty soul of Atlanta's black underbelly in mind. Dark as in horror, tragedy, and violence, and comedy, as in the colorful descriptions, insight, and wisdom that Atlanta's black underbelly used to cope with the horror, tragedy, and violence. The series consists of 2 books, each novel an 8-hour shift, Saturday and Sunday morning. Being a jazz aficionado, Cola incorporated the third stream style into his novel. The third stream style is a music style where one combines a stream of classical music with a stream of jazz to create a third fused stream. Instead of a third, Cola made a 6-fused stream flowing throughout the novel. The first fused stream was his personal story as a poet, fused with the stories of the security guards. The second stream was the history of Atlanta and its surrounding environment, fused with the music of Cola's favorite jazz musician, Charles Mingus. The Mingus stream is a homage. Whenever Cola talked with other artists and jazz enthusiasts about their greatest jazz musicians, Mingus's name was never mentioned. To rectify this mishap, Cola thought it would be an excellent idea to make his most cherished Mingus songs the soundtrack music of the novels, describing them in his own poetic style. Here's a sample of his homage to Mingus as he describes the song Love Chant from the chapter Extensive Forevers. As I enter the side hall to the office, gradually, a soft, mystic tickling aerially flows out of the moors of Princess Mammoth in stringy ripples. A repetitive hum from the heart of a piano scales up to imbue the narrow passage with its cool warmth, immediately accompanied by fluffy undulations of a gentle sax, the sounds pleasantly reacquainting my heart with the sentimentality of the feminine gender. It's the smooth sorcery of Mal Waldron and J.R. Montrose, introducing Charles Mingus's affection-conjuring composition, Love Chant. Whenever I'm hooked by its spell, lassoed by the rhythmic grace of its glamour, my own interpretation of the piece instinctually visualizes the genesis of love, that first year of a relationship when the amour is on autopilot. The freshness of the lust and the effortlessness of the romance have lovers floating high above the ground, sailing through clear blue skies, couched on a soft and thick, isolated, diamond-embedded white cloud of their own making, accompanied by wine and roses, totally oblivious to the deep grey, rumbling mass of cumulonimbus clouds that awaits. A year out, a thick and dense congregation of coupled love clouds of all types have long passed through the nascent year of amour and now hang, afloat, in a converged ragtag bulk of deep spousal time. Piss-soaked, misty cauliflower shapes of frustration layer atop thick, fluffy plumes of peace. Icy sheets of betrayal are spread over blood-stained, vaporous domes of violence. Vibrant, damp mounds of joy commingle with black, thunderous folds of infidelity. Grey-trimmed patches of crystallized depression. Ivory ripples of love-renewed, shit-streaked watery rolls of nastiness. Silver specks of lifetime bonds. Lightning-filled spheres of hate. All the congregated passion vapors gather into a spiritual jumbled wad to structurally divulge the present state of their relations. But the assorted aerial fusion is a year out, a lifetime away. For now it's all fun and laughter, all kisses and cuddles, floating high above the ground in the initial stage of wine, roses, and passion. It's just that real. Life has many changes. Tomorrow it may rain, and it's supposed to be sunshine, because it's summertime. But God's got a funny soul. He plays like Charlie Parker. A favorite quote of mine, from the legendary bassist and composer Charles Mingus. We've come to the closing of our synopsis, the end of our brief journey into the literary pages of Cola Rum. I hope that my concise explanations of the books and particular selections have given insight into the groundbreaking work. If you are a mental voyeur of the human condition, a ponderer of the dark journey and its humorous contradictions, do yourself a favor by copping Cola's Graveyard series. I'm Bibliophile J for the Novel Synopsis, and until next time, I will leave you with another quote from the scientist Carl Sagan. Books break the shackles of time, proof that humans can work magic.